MLB season. And every year then afterwards, she gave me the card set, the most current card set. I played a little bit, but it's more playing sports and whatnot, but kept an eye on it. And then when I bought it May 1st, 2006, but it was about a 3-year courtship. And I saw where the company was looking for capital, and we got talking. And sometimes it feels like I'm the dog that caught the car. I always wondered what the dog would do, but it's been fun. I've learned a lot. I've met some great people. I will say that the secret sauce of ABBA, besides the playability and the realism of the game, but the most important thing is the depth and breadth of friendships that have been created playing this game. You know, starting as teenagers, you know, going into the military. I have one customer who lost his ABBA game in Cambodia during a mortar attack. Customers have taken it to Vietnam, Desert Storm. You know, they have continued to play the game while they got married, had kids, had jobs, good jobs, bad jobs, divorces, whatever. You know, they have created a friendship over 60 years. So that's really the secret sauce. It's from this game. But that's, you know, when you play this game, you play it by yourself, you can have a game in 12 to 15 minutes. If you're playing it with somebody else, it's going to take a lot longer. Let me give you the history of ABBA. ABBA's first product release was the 1950 baseball season in 1951, and that was by Dick Seitz. Seitz had been a customer of National Pastime, which was the first set was sold for Pastime in 1931 by a gentleman named Cliff Van Beek from Green Bay, Wisconsin. As an aside, my father is a retired middle school teacher in Green Bay and had all the Van Beek kids in his class. For various reasons, Van Beek never issued another season set. Some said his printer went out of business. You know, 31, it's in the Depression, the tail end of it. Anyway, the copyright protection ran out. Seitz, during that 20 years, pestered Van Beek if he was going to issue any new card sets, which he did not. So National Pastime was based on batting. It had the same player cards with the 36 dice results you have on an ABBA card, but the only element of the game it had was batting. Seitz incorporated the batting with pitching and fielding into ABBA baseball. And you know, we're not running away from the legacy of Pastime, National Pastime, in the history of ABBA. We have a Hall of Fame here that was started before I got involved with the company. And we put Cliff Van Beek in the Hall of Fame about 6 years ago. And his 2 daughters and son were at the convention when we did that. So we're not running away from this at all, despite what some people may say. Seitz started in 51 with what we call the basic game. And the basic game, you are basically the manager. You set the lineups, you make pitching decisions, play the infield in. If you want to sacrifice, hit and run. Later, about 12 years later, Seitz introduced the master game version of ABBA, which is much more complicated. And in the master game, you are both the manager and the third base coach. In the basic game, stealing is incorporated into the cards. In the master game, you choose to steal or not steal. You choose advancements. You choose in the outfield where you're going to throw it. Are you going to throw it to home? Whatever. So you have more decisions in the master game than the basic game. In the 80s, Random House teamed up with ABBA and Miller and Associates and offered a ABBA Major League Players Baseball, which was for the DOS systems, had 2 large floppy disks. And most of us just had the green monochrome monitor and played ABBA baseball. baseball was available both in DOS and Apple, but because of poor sales, it wasn't worth the time and investment to keep updating Apple. That's why it ended up with the DOS version. And then later on, Baseball for Windows came out, and that is based on the Windows environment. And we're now up to version 5.75. Windows, we feel, is kind of the standard. It is, it's based on the master baseball game plus a few enhancements. It includes League Manager, where the computer actually can create a schedule for you. You give them the parameters you want. It includes a stat master program that automatically updates your stats while the game is being played. There is a draft where for draft leagues, you can draft players instead of using one of the files with the MLB teams. And I'm forgetting something. I always do. So that's integrated into the entire system. Unfortunately, what that means for us, and I'm going to read an email from one of my tech guys talking about Ohtani. BBW was set up again in the 80s and identified 9 positions, and DH was not a position. So it's caused us some issues, some major issues now. But just to give you a feel for the complexity of BBW, there are 117 different files with lineup-related references. Each and every one would have to be changed and tested, and then rinse and wash, and then repeated for AIM. And AIM is an injury management system where it advises you if a player is tired, rested, if he's not available because he's been injured, etc. And an AIM update to include the universal DH would require us to abandon the old AIM system and develop this current system, which may or may not cause us to have to change AIM ratings for all the previous seasons we've done. And right now, APBA has 1883, and then every season of the 20th and 21st century baseball, MLB baseball, available. So you can see that's a huge project, both money-wise and time-consuming. So we're working on the Ohtani issue. We think we have a pretty decent fix. We're still testing it a bit. People ask about the guest runner at second. And with our cards and dice game, our basic game, our master game, you can make whatever rules you want. But because of the complexity and all the code work, and we've got audio files in BBW, changing something in BBW is not easy. It's harder than turning a tanker ship around. So that's BBW. And then about 7 years ago, we introduced APBA Go. And that's based on the basic game. And it is an online game, so you can play with anybody, anywhere, or you can play by yourself. For those who have an Apple or a non-Windows system, they can play APBA Go. We have several leagues. We've had tournaments. We have, we've had guys that have played 10,000 games with APBA Go. And those that play it really like it. Some of the card and dice guys that play the basic game play APBA Go because it's a stat program. And they roll the dice. You can manually enter the dice roll into APBA Go, and they go through their cards to pick out who their substitutions are, and then go to the appropriate screen in APBA Go. Derek, let me know if I'm going on the right path or not. Are there any questions about the history of APBA before I start talking about new products for 2023?
Well, I'll chime in real quick that yes, you're going in the right direction as far as I'm concerned. I I am one of the handful of folks that bought the Apple product back in like 1986. And I'm kicking myself because I sold my Apple IIe computer when I got a PC in 1993. So I no longer have any of the games that I had with it. I sold it all at a very cheap price, and I've been kicking myself ever since. But no, I would say keep going unless anybody has any questions.
Okay, all right. Let me explain a little bit the mechanism of how ABBA's played. There's a red and a white dice, and instead of adding them so you can have a combination of between 2 to 12, you read the red dice first and then the white dice. So that gives you 36 different results. And after you roll the dice and get your dice roll, let's say it's 23, you would look at the batter's card, and it's a 3-column card with in black the dice roll and then a red number, which is the result number. And you go to the base situation board. So if there's nobody on base, you still have to see what the pitcher rating is, the opposing pitcher, and the opposing team's fielding rating. That can affect what the result is. And with that number at 23, let's say it's 14, you go to the board and look for result number 14 and that's a walk. That's always a walk. So it's that simple. And then you just go on to the next batter. If you have bases loaded, you go to the bases loaded chart. There's a sacrifice and a hit and run booklet besides that. It is the same mechanism since 1951. And there's the biggest reason for that is if we decided to change the game, not even significantly, but it required new formulas for making the cards. Whoever has invested, I mean, if you've bought 122 seasons of ABBA baseball cards, you have a significant investment, cash investment. And all of a sudden, if we come out with brand new boards, those cards don't play with the new boards. And that's not fair to those customers that have made that investment in ABBA. So we're hamstrung a little bit about what we can do and still keep the integrity of all 122 seasons that we offer. We understand that though, but the game I think it's the most playable game. We've had 6 and 7-year-olds come in here, and grandpa or dad or mom or grandma, whoever, explains the rules, and they're playing ABBA, and they're having fun. If a kid doesn't know baseball, they're not going to understand it. But these kids that have come in have understand baseball. The cycle of ABBA is there's like 5 stages in your life with ABBA where you keep coming back. One is when you're 7 or 8, somebody gets it for you as a gift. And, when you're that young, baseball's everything. The starting lineups for every team, the rosters, you used to have baseball cards you get. Now they're near impossible to find in stores. Then when you discover girls and start playing sports in junior high and high school, you tend to get away from it. But when you go to college, a lot of guys bring it to the dorm. And they play in the dorm, come out of college, depending upon their family work situation. They play it for a while, they start their family, they put it down. When they start having kids who are 7 or 8 years old, they bring it out again. When they have an empty nest, they'll bring it out again. And then when they retire, they're going to play every game of every season. And then they really jump back into it. So it's a lifetime friend with everybody. And like I said, we offer from 1901 through 2022 every season. And every season except for 6 from 1954 forward, we card every player that played that year. So if you want to do a replay and you want the guy that had 1 at bat or a plate appearance or 1 inning pitch, we have them. Here's what we're looking at for doing in 2023. The next season we're going to re-release is 1987, and that is one of those seasons where we'll card every player. And then the other seasons that we need to do, and these will all be done within the next 2 years. So by December of 24, every season from 54 forward, we'll have carded every player. The remaining seasons are 1985, 89, 90, 91, and then 1975. While we've carded every player, the master symbols are based on the old platoon system and not the current lefty-righty system. So we have to redo that set. We're also looking at doing a Negro League Great Teams 2 set. We did a set back in the mid-'80s, 20 teams. We have looked at that compared to the stats that have been issued, and because our cards are based more on rates instead of actual number. So with Judge was 62, we're looking at what is his rate, his home run rate, not the absolute number. We're confident with those cards that they're still good, they're still accurate. We had several Negro League baseball historians work on that 85 set, and they have their own collection. And, you know, they had gone through more microfiche, whatever, they had more free time. So we're comfortable with it. Great Teams 1. We'll come out with Great Teams 2. We're still negotiating the license for Gary Ashwell and his partners at Seamhead, so we could use that. They have one other licensee. They have several folks, they told me, that are offering cards based on their stats, but haven't paid for them. And, you know, that's just wrong. But I'm just throwing that out there. There are some people taking advantage of their hard work without compensating them appropriately. BBW, the biggest ask we've had besides Otani, we're final testing the workaround, is with new computers not having CD drives, they need, you know, how are they going to get the games? How are they going to get the seasons? And starting Monday, the BBW game will be available as a download instead of just a CD. So our foreign customers especially saves them shipping. And the download used to take several hours, and we've got it down to about 5 minutes. So we're really happy with that. We are converting all the season files, stadium disc, band manager to downloads also. And right now we're through the 1946 season as a download. And once all the seasons are filed, then we'll offer those. We'll continue to offer CDs through part of this year, and then it'll be a one-off, special order type of situation. APBA Go, like I said, it's free, so check it out. You get to manage the Astros and the Phillies. We're doing a 2023 pre-play with APBA Go. It'll be free all season. That'll be available next Friday. We are working on an algorithm to create non-MLB season files. College, minor league baseball, Japanese, Korean league, whatever we can get stats on. We will not be offering those seasons as card sets. The algorithm to create the APBA Go files, the non-MLB seasons, is not as robust as the card making process. And that's all I have on new stuff and what we plan to do in 2023. I can take some questions if you have some. I can talk about the convention. Anybody have questions?
Yeah, John, once upon a time, Eric Naftali published an APBA newsletter. Do you know anything about that? Or?
Yeah, it was the APBA Journal. I wish it was still being published. It was a great asset to the company. Eric sold that to a gentleman in Virginia who then sold it to a patent attorney who works for IBM in upstate New York. He has a CD available with every copy, every issue of the APBA Journal, including the predecessor Extra Innings. But that has not been published for probably close to 20 years now. But the company sends out a weekly newsletter. that talks about new products. We try to offer a new product every week. And also the tournament schedule for the APBA community is very robust. We have at least 20 face-to-face tournaments where it can be from 20, 25 people. Michigan 2 weeks ago had a tournament, and despite 10 inches of snow the previous night, they still had 41 managers turn out. Our convention in late June, we had 78 managers last year. So that keeps going up. There's tournaments in Vegas. If you need a reason to go to Las Vegas, most of these tournaments are in the upper Midwest and along the Eastern Seaboard. There's not a whole lot of activity on the West Coast. We have a lot of customers out there, but not many. It is a text-based game, but it is not animated.
I think it's fantastic that that the game will be available through download. I just think that's going to probably increase the availability for people to actually play the game, because I do think that not needing something to download the disc was a hindrance. So that's going to be huge, I think.
Yeah, we're trying to respond to what customers have been asking for. Hopefully they won't lose the file.
Correct. Yeah, but I also want to thank you for shepherding the game, because BBW is a great game, and when you consider when it was made and the staying power that it has, it's just it's really awesome. And I just want to thank you for shepherding it along and keeping it alive.
Well, thank you. The folks that deserve credit are the Miller brothers, Kenneth and Roswell Miller. I mean, they built a very, very robust game, especially the audio feature. They went above and beyond. And then the BBW community and the APBA community with their support of BBW. Because, I tell people that it's the community that's keeping the company alive by supporting us, by buying the products we offer. And if we don't have their support, I don't know where APBA would be.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah, so I have Mike Lastman. I've got a comment and a question. The comment would be, I appreciate what you'd said before about bringing people together. Just for Mark's use here or knowledge, I mean, I'm in the Canadian Baseball League, which has been around since 1974. And so it's went through the basic and the master and the BBW. And we had a draft a couple of weeks ago, actually, in Vancouver and Montreal. I'm here in Texas and travel to Vancouver. So these guys, they carry around their binders. They know the ratings. They know the stats. And besides that, and emphasize in other leagues, I'm in retro leagues where we went from 1950 all the way up to 1974. And so a lot of camaraderie, friendships. And the question I had for you is regarding the platoon ratings. For example, this year, Paul Goldschmidt is a righty 5, and obviously he's going to face mostly righty. So I guess I'm trying to figure out what calculations sort of go into how you figure out the platoon ratings.
Michael, we've kept all of that proprietary since 1951, and I have intentionally created a Chinese wall between myself. There's a team of 3 that prepare the cards, and I know how to make them. I have the files and the instructions, but I just stay away from them. Part of that is I don't influence them in any way, what their ratings are. One of the guys on the team is Skeet Carr. He's been with the company forever. So there's that continuity. So I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things a lot of game companies try to do the platoon ratings to do that. And it's an interesting metric to look at the lefties and righties. And many times the righties are 0. Lefties, have that big platoon with a 5. So that's something that we always discuss. And that's really one thing for the group is that, people speculate as to what the pitchers are going to be, what their ratings are, what the batters are. And I know people do the go, but then when the cards come out and the software, people get pretty excited. And study over everything about who got what grade and all that. And I'm the one who actually runs several of the leagues, and we're getting a disc prepared. It's a true franchise league with farm systems from those teams, and guys get very excited about that. So I appreciate it, and a very playable game to those who haven't played it before. It's very easy, and I'm happy to hear that it's going to be a download, because as computers, you purchase them. It's hard now to get one with a drive, and you got to purchase one, which is fine. That's good information for my group that I can relay. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. Anybody else?
All right.
John, sorry, Jerry, go on.
I'm just curious, for your current customers, what is the breakdown between people who buy the cards and people who buy the discs? If you can provide that.
Well, one of the challenges with determining the disc buyers versus users is that back when the Millers developed League Manager, there was some commissioner files, and this was before email. So this is how old this system is. And the device was to help the commissioner share information with his other managers in their league. And as part of that, the league only had to buy one CD, one season file. So every manager didn't have to buy the CD. And Millers admit that they never thought of that being a consequence. So cards, we do much better in cards. We do much better in APBA than we do in BBW. The estimate for the slippage is one payer, 30 users. So so I don't have a strong feeling for how many folks are using it. But the card people are still the main group, the main users.
All right, it's interesting. Thank you. I was just surprised. I switched to, I don't use APBA anymore, I haven't for years, but I switched from a card-based game to a computer-based game years ago because I didn't want to manually do the statistics. And I'm just surprised that so many people still use the cards.
They do. I think it's that sound of the dice. We had a gentleman a few years ago, we put in our Hall of Fame, a football guy, and he told this inspiring story that he has a little spot in the basement, but his wife was battling and had survived her fight with cancer, and she wanted him in the room. So he sat at the end of the couch that she was laying on and rolled the dice. And she still misses that sound that told her he's home, he's here. And a lot of people feel that way. They like the feel of the cards. And they started with playing the cards in the 60s or whatever. A lot of people buy both.
So we have one question here in the chat right now. Steven's asking, is your computer game animated? I think you already answered that.
Yeah, no, it's a text-based game. The field, you'll see the name of the fielders and a box and the name of the batter or base runners, but it's not animated.
Hey, John, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I guess back in the 90s when BBW came out, there were several add-on programs. I know there was Baseball Wizard that allowed you to edit at least certain attributes, and there was the Bill James Encyclopedia, which allowed you to import different seasons. Is there any thought to upgrading or allowing those or adding on utilities such as those to the current version?
The reason we haven't been updating James is basically you can blame Baseball Reference. That information is now available on the internet, so many different sites, for free. Wizard is an operating program, so it requires a complete redo. And when Millers developed Wizard, everybody gave him the Lou Brock trade situation. They wanted to have Brock as a Cub and then Brock as a Cardinal instead of just Brock's entire season. And Miller's agreed to that. But what happened was they set it up that with 2 keystrokes, you could do a season, taken out of the encyclopedia. So it cost us sales. We have talked about offering something like Wizard, but you could just do 1 player at a time. So, I mean, if you want to do a whole league, it's you're going to have to enter each and every one of the 900 players or whatever that is. You can edit a player in BBW in draft. You can't adjust their APBA ratings, but if you want to change the name, you want to, have your own card in there, you can do that right now.
I guess my thought was along the line, since we're in the World Baseball Classic mode right now, like if I wanted to create a WBC season and I wanted to create the players from Japan, for example, or something.
Well, what you could do, Derek, is using the 2022 season is create an organization and draft those various players in there, and then try to find a comparable player for those that aren't in there. And when sometimes we use that, and we use the similarity ratings on Baseball Reference to see who would be a good comp.
Okay. Yep, that's reasonable. Makes sense.
Okay. Anybody else got some questions here for John?
John, I can't remember.
How do you win?
one last one from me. I can't remember. You might have addressed this in another forum. I can't remember. With APBA Go, is there some thought about eventually implementing or weaving in the master symbols?
There is, Andy, but there's some bugs still, especially on the manager side. They have to be much more robust. And I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with gameplay and game results. Every once in a while, there's an odd one. It's the managers, though. But then the other thing is we have to try to offer the entire BBW package. Statistics, league manager. Right now, we're working on simulations where we're down to a couple seconds. And that's part of this pre-play. If you're daily fantasy or whatever, or you want to do some betting, run the game 100 times in the morning and decide what you want to do. But we've got to get those until then we can go to the master game. But there definitely is a plan to have the master game.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for your question.
John, I think you hit it on the head about the relationships and the groups and everything. I mean, my familiarity is with the DOS hockey version that many years ago, the discs stopped being made. And what happened was a whole bunch of people in different leagues got together and they make discs every year for it now. It's a disc project team and they make it. And I've been in a league. I started my own league and we went 10 years and I dropped it. Somebody kind of copied a bunch of the stuff I was doing and ran a league that I joined right away with them. And it's been running for about 25 years. So yeah, it's real. And, the comments about, at least I guess it's young boys in the US knows all the teams and all the players and all the starting lineups. Well, up here in the North, it's always been the same with hockey. It's just different. I mean, I've come to baseball later in my life, but, other than how to beat the game, guys, what questions do you have?
Yes, Andy.
So many years ago, I played baseball, football, and golf. I'm just curious, what sports do you offer now?
We still have golf. We've reintroduced golf about 15 years ago. We have football, and now we offer college football as well as pro football. We have a hockey game, and we offer every season of the NHL back to 1950-51. And last year, for the first time, we introduced a college hockey set for the 16 teams that were in the men's tournament. We have soccer. We introduced soccer about right when we moved in here, 12 years or so ago. Initially, we've cut back on the offerings for soccer, but that we offer 4 different sets during the calendar year. The MLS set will be out next week. So those are the 5. We look at basketball every once in a while. During the pandemic, to offer a new game, you have to have a great season that everybody wants to play. You need a great tournament, because what we would do is the football game includes the 2 Super Bowl teams and the 2 national championship teams. So we would do the same thing with basketball. And there are, we don't make money on the games. We make our money on selling the card sets. That's our razor blades. And, with 350 teams in college, you could do a women's team set, NCAA tournament or top 25. There's pro leagues in Europe and whatnot. There'd be a lot of offerings for it. But the first game was ABBA's first attempt at a continuous action game, and it's not good. The second one is, it's still not the standard I want it to be, but we have proven with our hockey game and our soccer game that we can do continuous action games. Many of our fans say that our hockey game is the most exciting game that we offer. We get requests. ABBA in the past has offered boxing. That was a license deal, and we no longer have a license with the owners of that game. ABBA offered horse racing for about 10 to 12 years, and they discontinued that because of poor sales. And people keep asking, why don't we re-release that game? The interest in horse racing has really declined significantly in the past 20 or 30 years. And there aren't, what would you do, 100 horses, whatever? You're not going to be able to have a large set like you do for other sports. People ask the same thing about the bowling game, and that was discontinued for the same reasons. Somebody recommended a catamaran game. I jokingly tell people that we're looking at cricket, and depending upon this, the success next year of the North America Cricket League, who knows? Around here, as a youth sport in Northeast Atlanta, there are as many kids playing cricket as there are girls playing softball. And the softball program is a very, very strong program. But, this is a cosmopolitan area, and cricket is picking up speed.
Interesting. Thank you.
Somebody's also suggested MMA fighters, but we're not going there.
About NASCAR?
Pardon?
NASCAR.
We had somebody bring in a proposal with a mock-up, but we have 3 boys and they're now men. But growing up, the video games, that's a good way to find out what's going on in your kid's life. Those NASCAR video games are so realistic. I mean, you feel like you're in the car, you're in the track, you're spinning all around, that there's no way we can make a product that would get people away from those games. But I enjoy NASCAR too.
Yep. Question for you, since you mentioned it earlier. Do you have on your website, is there a tournament calendar? I guess where would people find out where those tournaments, upcoming tournaments are?
The best way is the newsletter. Sign up for our weekly newsletter because that's the best way. We have to refix the link for the calendar for 2022 or the 2023 season. But if you're in the area or it's nearby, we have people that go from Chattanooga to Minneapolis just for a day of playing ABBA. It is just amazing the support and the passion people have for this game and this community. We use a tagline now in our newsletter is that APBA is more than a game. It's a community. And I strongly recommend to anybody going to one of these tournaments, coming to the convention. We have a convention every year, the weekend after Father's Day here in Alpharetta. The first year we had it, it was a Friday night banquet, Saturday baseball tournament, and the semis and the finals are Sunday morning. Now it starts Thursday. And we'll have guys coming in here Tuesday. And when there's nothing scheduled, they're playing APBA. They got their board, they go get their game and their cards, and they find a table and play APBA. And it's kind of interesting because the weekend hotel is filled up with the APBA guys, several girls softball teams, and then about a half a dozen youth baseball teams that are playing some tournaments here. And the boys end up, they're running around the hotel, they find these guys, they start watching them play the game. And invariably the guys start teaching these kids how to play APBA. And that's just, the community is like, they're very supportive of, and if you're new to it or you want to come to these events, they're going to welcome you with open arms. I cannot say enough what a great community, great bunch of people.
Sounds like definitely something to check out. We do have in the chat here that John has never seen the Windows version of the game, and that Bob offered to share his screen to walk us through it. So, okay, with everybody, if we take a few minutes and do that.
Okay, Bob, I'm making you a co-host, so don't put anything naughty up there. You can share your screen. John, Matthew asked if a wrestling game, WWE, was in the works.
I saw that. That's interesting. But I don't know how you could create the excitement. And I think a big part of wrestling is the jabbering and the monologues and all that goes with it to get the real experience. I'll tell you a story. My father's a retired middle school teacher in Green Bay. And every year after Christmas, myself and my three brothers and my dad would go do a guy's night out. So one year, somebody went and bought tickets to wrestling, and it was out of a troupe out of Minnesota, basically. So it's Vern Gagne. This is pre-WWE. And we had front row seats in the bowl, not on the floor. And a couple of kids walked past, my dad's students. My dad was telling me how awful this one kid was. And so the next time I saw him, I said, what was the feedback like at school? And he goes, that kid started giving me grief. And I told him if he didn't shut up, I was going to pile drive him. And he said, never had a problem with him ever again. Pile drive's a wrestling move that they say should be banned. But I don't think you can create the experience of wrestling with cards and dice and a board.
So what we're missing here is the Ernie Harwell commentary, which is really integral to the game, to the enjoyment of the game, actually.
Yes, but it's as that gap grows, more and more of the players' names are just initials.
Yeah, good point.
And that is, I talked to Ernie about this, and he was in the studio 8 hours a day for 3 weeks.
Wow.
Doing all the recording. And that's how far ahead the Millers were. And I've asked them several times, why did they put all this effort into the audio? Was there something else they were planning on doing with it? And they've never told me what that was, but they have admitted that they had some other ideas of how to use audio. And they were experimenting with BBW so they could prove to people they could do it.
There are other games with commentary, play-by-play like this, but I feel like
playing from the out at first. The runners take their lead. Now the pitch. It's skied. T is in. Simmons is in. T is calling for it. And he makes the catch. One away. And the run is hold. Rochester now sends P the bat. Contreras and T at third and second. One out. Infield deep. At third, Contreras takes a short lead. Now the delivery. It's lined hard to left center. Lowe is racing back. It's in there for a hit. Lowe cuts it off in the gap. Contreras scored. T is around third. They're waving T in, and he scores. He holds it first for the single as the throw comes into second. So the single drives in two, and the visitors now lead 3-0. W is now up. Montreal kicks and delivers out sharply to the left side. Simmons grabs it and flips the second for one. The pivot and the peg to Walker. W beats the ball to first. No double play. Next up, Rochester hitter Crawford. Montreal delivers. Chopper back to the mound. And Montreal bobbles it. No throw. Both runners are safe. Crawford reaches on the error. That'll be an error on Montreal. The next visitor's batter is Hernandez. He's a left-handed batter. 2 away, 3 runs in. Lofted to left center. Low on the run. He may run out of room. Open the window, Aunt Minnie. Here she comes. It's gone. An opposite field 3-run homer. So Hernandez hits a 3-run shot, his first home run of the season, and the visitors take a big lead, 6-zip. Now coming up, A.
Yeah.
To the plate, high fly ball to left. Taylor is racing to the line into foul territory. He stumbles, but he keeps his feet, and he makes the catch. And the side is retired. Yes, the harvest is in. Nice play. The line for the visitors, 6 runs, 4 hits, 1 error. They take a commanding lead. Locals behind the visitors, 6-zip.
Hey, Bob?
Deep and low. You up for Hamilton.
Yes.
What,
Get it going.
you know, there's 3 options for the time. Which one are you using for this?
Oh, I'm pretty quick on the speed, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to point that out that there are 3 levels. The professional level is the fastest one. And I think because this is, we're sharing the screen, that's making it run a little bit slower.
The pitch, Hine lunges at it, and that's strike 3. Oh, fooled him badly. 1 away. B to face O. The offering from O, breaking ball, cut on, and missed. B goes down swinging. A pair of strikeouts from O here in the second. 2 away. Low coming up. He brings it home. Fly ball center field. Plenty of room. He is there and takes it in. 3 down. So the locals go down 1-2-3. The score is still 6-zip Rochester as we go to the top of the 3rd inning.
Bob, what stadium is this?
Oh, Contreras, Santee, the bat next.
Let me stop it here for a moment here.
leading
Pause
it off.
it. Let's see. But yeah, so I'm sorry. The question again, I can't hear for the for Ernie.
What stadium is this?
Oh, that's old Comiskey Park in Chicago.
Okay. That is one of the things with BBW. We offer current and historical field backdrops.
Yeah. And then to make like a substitution, well, we don't want to bat for Ohtani, but
the pitch smashed toward the gap in right center. G gallops for it. He dives, but he cuts it off. Throws to second. Then O holds with a single. That's O, second hit of the game.
Now, if you want to steal,
Contreras.
you call for the steal here on the decision panel, and he'll try a steal.
First baseman Walker right on the bag. Here he comes. Low and away. Oh, he's going for the steal. They'll have trouble catching him. Hine fires it down. The slide. Tags him. Safe. That's his first steal of the season.
And then you can pick a hitter for a player. You just substitute one for the other, drag them in, and you got a new batter.
Skipper's walking down the bench.
Can I take a moment to explain the numbers?
Absolutely. Let me
That's right.
stop sharing here.
You take his time getting to the box. See,
the first number in the fielders is their fielding rating. Outfield, it's 1 to 3. Third base, 1 to 5. Shortstop and second base are 5 to 9. First base is 1 to 5. Catchers are 5 to 9. The second number in the outfielders, where it says A and then 34, that's their arm rating, and that's on a scale of from 20 to 40. And you need to, and then the number up underneath Ohtani is the speed number. So when you're considering, like, if there's a ball hit out to low in center field, with deep center field with a relatively low fielding number or meet average, and Ohtani's speed of 17, because the speed ratings are 1 to 20, you would probably send Ohtani. But if the runner had a speed rating of 2, he's running with a piano on his back, and he's going to stop at third. And then the SA3 for the catcher is their throwing rating on steal attempts.
The one thing, John, and I know all the impediments of the code. It would be awesome in the future at some point to actually get a numerical valuation for whether you want to send a runner or not, like you do in the master game.
Yeah.
But again, that who knows what kind of coding work that would require.
Yeah, that's one of the things we're looking at in APBA Go when we add the master game. Some of the verbal clues are not the greatest. If it says the runner is well around third,
right?
But that, it should be more obvious than that.
The other day I played a game and the ball was hit to the warning track, and the guy was still throwing out at the plate.
Yeah.
One of my favorite options in the game, I think it might be part of the stadium sound effects, is the hot dog vendor.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Tommy Walton, I think it was.
I mean, you have the national anthem at the beginning of the game if you want.
Right.
Ernie there's 3 versions of Ernie, where he is the home team's announcer or the visitors team announcer, or just, doing a national game with no skin in the game.
I'm just trying to imagine how long he was sitting there in the studio announcing every single name that was available up until 1980 or 1990, whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, it truly is remarkable how old BBW is and how it still stands up to the test of time. Millers were real visionaries with what they wanted to do.
If everybody has a few more minutes, I'm just wondering, Bob, since you have your screen up here, can you show maybe briefly like the league manager and stat master programs?
Sure. Here's the league manager. Mine is it shows you the teams over here on the one side. And you got the schedule, which you can import schedules from other seasons, so you don't have to recreate that. It'll generate its own one too if you give it parameters.
It's still, hey Bob, it's still showing the game screen though. I don't know, you might have to minimize that or close out of that one.
Okay, let's see here. We'll play game, we'll cancel the game and exit, and which it takes track of that too. If you cancel a game after it started, it flags it in League Manager, so you can't keep restarting your game until you get your results. So, okay, now do you see League Manager? No, I stopped sharing. I got to share another window here.
I don't know. After watching Tellez play so much in Toronto before he got traded, there's no way he was ever scoring from second on a single. I think there's a flaw there. I like Rowdy, and I got an autographed bat from the gentleman that I got through Toronto's charity, but yeah, there's no way.
Okay, there's your League Manager screen. Actually, you see the schedule. You can assign managers for the team. You get your pick of, I mean, there's several that they've got. You can pick out all these different managers to run your club. So let's say you want Muddy Harris to run it. He comes with certain guidelines, and then you can set your pitching rotation by just say, well, we'll have Strawman for the first game and Montez for the next one and whomever, and you can adjust it. You set your lineups by you can set them here, or you can set them in draft mode. You got a left fielder and a center field. You just drag them and put them in there. You can flip them around in positions any way you want to set them, and you keep them right-handed lineups, left-handed lineups, and it allows you to platoon. If you want to know how well the fellow is rested, you can go out here, close it. Yeah. Okay. And
that's one of the things I like about this is it has, you know, like if the status of the player, like someone is itchy, they haven't been in the lineup in 10 days, or
that warning when you're in your lineup and you got somebody that's tired, and you run the risk if you play him that he'll get injured and you'll lose him for a few games.
Yeah. So let's say you bring up a different season here. We're doing some 1953 league, and you can see, for example, here, you played 77%, you got 77% of the season left. So it tells you some of these guys are just available, 105% of their expected use to date. You can see how much left, how much the pitchers have left, and how many batters they can face over the course of a season. Give you another example here. We can find somebody that maybe that's worn out. Let's see, reports, status. Yeah, here's a fellow that's itchy. He hasn't played in 7 days, so he'd like to get into the lineup. So he's starting to complain on the bench. And the other pitchers are tired. Here's a worn out fellow, and some are rested and some are just ready. It tells you how many batters they can face as a starter if they come in relief, about how many pitches they could throw, if you will. And how many games they've played to date.
Can you go back and click on one of the games so they can see the box score for a game played?
Sure. You see, it's a real detailed analysis here, and you can also get it then in a different format. If you don't like this one, they offer reports. We can do newspaper style. So it comes out like that. Yeah. And then it'll give you the you know, over here is the summary of what they did, doubles and triples and stuff. And
the numbers in paren are their totals year to date.
Yeah. So it's just like you'd see it in the old box scores in the newspaper. Yep. Yeah. You can take a look at, let's say you want to take a look at the starting pitchers. Hang on. I can get a report on the starting pitchers for the game, and it shows what each of these guys have done in all their starts this year. who they pitched against, what the final score was, whether they won or lost or had no decision. The stat reporting is really awesome too.
The other thing you can do with League Manager is if you were doing a replay and you only wanted to manage, say, the Milwaukee Braves in 57, you could just manage the Braves games and assign a computer manager to play manage all the other games. And you have two options to watch those games. One is you just watch it as a spectator on the game screen, or you just it's just fast mode, for lack of a better term. But what you'll see at the bottom then for that game is just the score changing and what inning it is rapidly. And then you can go to the box score to get the details of that game. So a lot of people do that.
Yeah, it allows you to just play one team the whole season.
You manage your team. You can, if you wanted to, when we were testing 5.75, we had the 1961 season as one of the seasons with the game. And I asked my middle son to read the instructions in 5.75 and then set up an organization, see how well it was written, because he's not very familiar with the game at all. And he came down about 45 minutes later, and he shows me his printout. He did a 61 season through League Manager with a computer manager, and he had printed out stuff from StatMaster. He just thought that was so interesting. So some guys do that. I mean, it's your game. You can do what you want to do with it, but when I've done replays, I've managed both teams.
Yeah, and you can do.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No. Okay. John, a couple questions popped up here. Another John wants to know, how much does the computer game cost?
$28.
Okay. And Chris is wondering if you've had any thought of using some AI to enhance Ernie's voice, making it smoother.
We have not. Where we're experimenting with AI is developing a computer manager opponent for you. So you would play, the computer manager would manage your opponent, but the idea is over time, the manager would start adjusting to your tendencies and making their decisions, and it'd be, keep going, developing an ongoing development. And I think that's pretty interesting. It forces you to change what you're always doing. And so we're working on that.
Sounds cool. Anybody else got questions? Feel free to ask them or write them down if you want me to read them.
What's the score in the baseball game, Mark?
3-1 last I saw. Yeah, 3-1 for Japan. I mean, when the United States is pitching Aaron Loop, I mean, they want to lose. Although he didn't give anything up. Again, an ex-Blue Jay, so I have a strong opinion about how bad he is.
Well, Bob, are you going to bring up a StatMaster screen?
Sure. Let me do that.
I was going to say, if I still had my Apple IIe, I'd try to fire that one up and bring up the old Random House version.
I have that. I wish I had kept that old computer.
Yeah.
Somebody just asked about internet and comparing the final product to Windows BBW. excuse me, the goal is to offer the same functionality that BBW has, including the AIM system, Stat Master, League Manager, etc. But I always have to remind people that, and Derek, you would know this, the first version of the computer game was just the computer game. There was no stat program. There was nothing else. And probably about 10 years later is when Miller started developing these other features. So, they had, many, many man hours invested. They had, as part of their team, 3 full-time C+ programmers at about $30K a year back then. Today, they get 130 to 150. So the cost of making changes, especially significant changes, is material.
Well, I don't think I'm sharing my screen, am I?
No, not yet, Bob. I know with the DOS hockey, there was a guy named Dave Atkinson who's since passed away the last couple of years from cancer, but he created a bunch of utilities for the DOS hockey that, I think it's part of the reason that the leagues keep going.
Can you email me those, Mark?
If I can find them. If not, I'll get my friend Ken to.
Okay, thank you.
Wait a minute, you're going to charge us? You're not coming after us for copyright, I hope.
No.
Oh,
not
okay.
at all. It's for your personal use.
Oh, okay.
Intellectual property is a very interesting situation for a company like APBA. That's why the golf courses we don't use their name, because that's a licensed name. And back in the 60s, an attorney for the Masters showed up at Lancaster and asked sites where his permission was to sell Augusta. And he didn't do it. He told him what the license would be, and Dick stopped offering it. Being here in Atlanta, every year I get visits from several, I call them the suits from the MLB office and the NFL offices, coming in to make sure that we're not doing anything that violates their intellectual property. For example, we have an app on Apple. We called it Home Run Derby. And MLB told us we had to take it down or get a license. So we have the Home Run Derby game is also in the basic game. So we had to change that to clearing the fences so that MLB would be happy. I mean, for example, we cannot use the team nickname. That has to be licensed by MLB. City name, there's nothing they can do. Like, we can use Duke, but we couldn't use Duke Blue Devils or Alabama Tide or whatever the nickname is. So there's a line that you gotta stay vigilant about.
You having trouble, Bob?
I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay.
Here's the
question. Chris has got a question if you've patented the game engine.
I'm not sure about the early basic baseball in the 50s, but everything else has been patented. I know people are always showing on Facebook or the internet a copy of Seitz' the patent for the first football game. So.
Well, here are some of the Stat Master categories. You can design your own, or you can use the defaults or the top 10 for batting or slugging and most hits, doubles, every category you can think of almost. and they have it for, you can do it team by team on, you can do how many runs you've scored in every inning, and it breaks it down for you. How many runs you've scored, how many the opponent has scored, club pitching, how many home runs they've given up, how many saves by team. You get your leaders in pitching and their won-loss record, earned run average leaders, strikeout leaders, a lot of who gives up the most walks, who gives up the most home runs. You can customize any one of these displays too, which is really nice. And so, for example, if you want to report on the league and you want custom one, you can pick which league you want. And then you say, well, give me the who's got the most extra base hits, who's played the most in. I can ask for the top 25 or the top however many you want, and you display that and it brings it right up for you. You can do fielding stats too, which are kind of interesting. So if we go to another report that's organization custom, if I want to see fielding, I just click fielding, and then it asks me which position or however many I want. I can do just center field, or I can just do outfield, and get in the top. Say I want the top. I don't need that many 30, but I can ask for top 50, whatever it is, and it'll display that for me here on the most double plays by a center fielder. Anything I want to do, most errors, most putouts, most chances. And the same way with pitching, you can see who led in hit batters or whatever else. So can fully customizable. And I don't know if there's anything else you'd wanted to see.
We had a question whether you can export this to CSV or other formats.
Yeah, so for example, we go up here and I'd want to just do my I can print this out to PDF, and let's see, select. I don't do much of that printing here, but there's a lot of ways to get great reports, and to we do a lot of shift print screen in ours, and then we make our PowerPoint presentations that include those on the screens.
And you can export anything to PDF and then convert it to Excel, which is what I do. So, yeah.
Yeah, so you can change the print size, the font, and all that type of thing, how big you want it to display. Got help screens to help you out there too if you get into problems. Again, you always select by just organization and league, or your division, or just your team. So getting division leaders is kind of nice sometimes too. It gives the also rans a little bit of opportunity to get on the leaderboard with some of their players.
And John, I have a question for you. I mean, it kind of goes along with what you said about all the programming stuff, but I know one of the minor complaints I would have is that you have to exit one program and then go into another, right? So,
yeah.
Is there you know, for a future version, is that a consideration?
We've looked at it, but that's a big project to do, and part of it is just the size and all the lines of code. And BBW is like a giant beanbag. You press one place and then something else doesn't work. I mean, that's what we've really found with trying to do the Ohtani programming, where you can be a DH and a position player in the same game. And then you got to make sure that micromanagers have the option for that. So we're aware of it, but that's a big project to integrate those all into one.
Okay.
Because the other thing we like to have in StatMaster is career stats, which we don't have. We have it in APBA Go, but we don't have it in BBW.
So you're saying if you were to run the same league over a multiple seasons?
Yeah. You can have all the managers' records, year by year standing. Well, that you can have by just keeping the. But if you want to see the career stats for the players, we don't offer that in StatMaster. Now, there used to be a utility called Norwood Database that did offer that capability.
Okay, well, we're coming up to, we're past the hour and soon coming up to an hour and a half. Any questions, comments, thoughts, anything anybody else wants to share at this point for John?
It was very informative.
Thank you.
You know, I think this is the biggest group we've had at one of our sessions, and you know, that I know Derek's pleased. He sends me updates. We got 20 people, we got 25. And I'm like, okay, well, I haven't signed up yet, so you got one more. But it's interesting. I'm just seeing there's a couple more comments here. Yeah, I think we covered all these. So if nothing else, I think we'll call it a night, and you guys can watch the rest of that game where the US is losing, and I'm sure you're sad. Canada lost a long time ago, and they were bad. Oh, the two games I watched were just, I couldn't watch them. They were so bad against Great Britain and the US. They were just awful, awful games. I know everybody's happy with the games, but not for our country, they weren't. Derek, you got anything?
No, I just, John, appreciate you coming on with us. You know, again, extremely informative. I appreciate all the questions that everybody has. Maybe, John, we can discuss at some point coming up to one of our conventions and vice versa, right?
Okay, yeah. I just want to thank you all for taking the time to come out and listen to me yak for an hour and a half. Eric and Mark, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. I appreciate the questions and the suggestions. And if you get a chance, come to the convention. It's the weekend after Father's Day. You will not be disappointed. It's a family reunion where everybody likes everybody, unlike some other family reunions.
Oh, you've met my family. Okay. So just a reminder, next meeting, we're going to be talking about, we're going to try and get narrowed down Jacob and a few others as to what they expect from us, what we might like to do at the convention, run it out to you guys, see what you might like and see what we can do to help build up our group. You know, I know we've got at least one presentation that we've put forward, somebody's put forward for, well, it was me, from the group for some research work. But the problem we have and will continue to have is simulations aren't the normal research, you know, when they talk about research. So that's a battle we're gonna probably have until we can get a couple good presentations up, and then they go, hey, wait, this is kind of interesting. So but that's okay. We'll fight that fight.
Mark, have you seen, excuse me, Charlie Fauché did a sim with a great Negro League team, and I think it was the New York Giants. It's 1916 or something. He offered it at the Mallory convention one year. If that helps you with, you know, your question about our Sims research or not, I'd recommend you talk to the Mallory people. You can also, if you're interested, go to our shop on the website, and there's a link to that article under the Negro League Great Team Sim.
Okay, great, thanks. I'll take when I'm done the semester, I'll take a look. I'm a college instructor / professor, whatever you want to call it, and I got 4.5 weeks of classes, couple exams, and then you know, the summer we work hard researching things.
There you go. Well, that counts as research in my book.
Okay.
All right,
Well,
folks.
thanks everybody. Watch your email and stuff for the next meeting. We haven't set one up yet, but I'm sure we'll have something in April.
All right.
Thank you, John.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Have a good night. Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much,
Take care,
John.
guys.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for inviting me.
Thank y'all.
All right. Take care. Have a good night.
Bye, everyone.